Hello Kerbal and welcome to part 3 of Mining the Man, and this time we're going to be surveying a place for putting a base. Yes, but in the last episode we sent the habitat module off to the manned space station, and now we're actually going to dock it. So let's get a bit closer. Okay, as usual with any docking scenario, get closer, get as close as you can, and then kill your velocity. And by the way, this looks a bit blocky because we're in enhanced vision mode, and basically in the post editing I've increased the brightness because, well, you can't see it in it. I can't work out how to get the visual enhancement mod to work properly, to show everything properly. But anyway, it works okay in 1.0.4, and at the moment we're not in 1.0.4, we're still in 1.0.2. Anyway, now that the sun's rising, I can switch off the visual enhancement mode. Now we can undock the habitat station because we're not going to be docking the tug probe here that we've launched up in the last episode. And I think we do get rid of that eventually, but because I'm going to engineer a new tug spacecraft that'll get things back and forth to the man. At least it needs a bit more improvement. Anyway, the habitat module has its own RCS, and that is enough for us to get to the station. It has enough RCS propellant on it, so we don't need to use the thrusters of the tug. Okay, getting a bit closer, targeting our docking port. If words escape me a moment. But now we're going to come in slowly, to get in closely. Okay, I've also aligned, you can see the docking alignment mod, the orientation of the spacecraft, which I don't normally do. I don't think that counts too much, except it aligns things up like windows and hatches and everything. Aligns it with the docking port that you're docking with. It doesn't align it actually with the entire station, just with the docking port. So that's one thing to note if you want to make your stations look pretty. Okay, so everything's aligned. We're coming in at about 8 meters per second. Maybe a bit too fast. Okay, it is a bit too fast because you can see the wobble in the space station by here. Luckily the RCS and the SAS is engaged. Anyway, let's get Munmore out on EVA. Right, now to note, you can reorientate your camera so that your Kerbal will orientate to the camera mode. Now we've got it on free, which will orientate it to, I think, north and south for the game, really. But you can orientate it to orbit or chase or anything like that. It means that you can orientate your Kerbal automatically orientate towards the way that your camera is set to, or the mode that the camera is set to. So that's one thing to bear in mind. So you can, well, orientate Kerbal. And here I am trying to get a selfie of Munmore through a window. Failed attempt number 1. We're going to try again, but this time using the lander module. Okay, reorientate yourself and come on. Get yourself in front of the window. It's quite hard to do actually, because any slight burst of thrusting will move your Kerbal in one direction, and you continue traveling in that one direction. Anyway, let's get Munmore back on board. And I can show you what's wrong with that tug. Yes, I'm definitely going to retire this. The bloody thing is rotating when I'm thrusting. Now, this is probably due to the fact that I haven't put any struts on it. I've got girders on it, but they're not having any structural properties with it. They're not, giving any structure to the spacecraft. It's not securing the thrust of those rockets. And that's why it's spinning. So I've set it to go and crash into the atmosphere of the Kerbal. And we can let that disintegrate. And I'll have to build a new one. Okay, so anyway, now we'll leave this behind. And I'll show you what else I've been working on. Right, we want to build a base, and I want to know where to put the base. So one of those things I'm going to do is build a rover. Now the plan was to update to 1.0.4, build the space station modules and dock them off camera, and also build the base and land that on camera. I thought I'll start with the rover because we need to find a place. We can go about, we can land this first, go about, find out the best place to go mining, because it has an ore detector on. Well, it will have an ore detector on top of it. And carry on. But I was having a problem updating to 1.0.4, transferring my save across from 1.0.2, and the parts on the left hand side were not appearing. I couldn't work out what's going on. Something wrong there. So what I did, I found a way around that, and that was to load a new game, exit that new game, and then load the save up, and hey presto, all those parts are there. No idea. It must be because I'm transferring the saves from 1.0.2 to 1.0.4. Anyway, let's go test this rover. I'll put this available for download, but you do need MechJeb to run this. And it doesn't go over 10 meters per second, by the way. And this is the reason why I put MechJeb on here. It gives you speed control, so you're not going to go too fast, going up and down hills. And bearing in mind, the man's got lower gravity, so it's going to probably be easier to download, tip over. But this is the reason why I put MechJeb on it, is I can put waypoints on there. And you can set it so MechJeb will follow those waypoints. And by here I set our rover course to test how going over hills will cause any problems or anything. So here we go, we get a little bit of jump in here, and do note, you can't use this on 4x time accelerate. The idea was I can set this to go somewhere, I can go have a shower, go have some tea or something, especially if it's going to be quite a distance. I'll let this run in the background. But do note, you have to set the turning points a large distance because this doesn't have a good turn radius. And hey presto, it works. It goes over those high hills and everything, those big lips, and it hasn't crashed. So anyway, with all that testing done, we do have something we can do. And while I'm limited on the amount I can show you because of 1.4.4 update, we can do this. We can land our surveyor on the surface of the man and survey where the best spots for a base could be. Now I decided to check out the spots on the equator, this one by here, and this is where I did mention, I think it was in first episode or second episode, where the inclination of the space station causes some problems. It means that you can't land anywhere on the equator. Or if you're in an equatorial orbit, that means you couldn't land on anywhere on the North Pole because the fuel required would be quite a lot. So in an inclination, although you have to time warp to get those spots that you want to land on, it means that you can land in more places on the map. So that's a thing to think about when you're building any space station, or even a spacecraft you send it to another planet. In a polar orbit, you could virtually land anywhere on there. Right, now who we got? We've got Munmore, and he is going to be our pilot. He's going to be our hero. He is going to land on the man, and he's going to dock back with the space station, which will have some problems with. I will get to that. I'm checking by here, making sure that the icon is set up as a lander, because it was docked to a space station, and in the old version it kept the symbol of the last place it was docked to. So now we have to go point retrograde, and I shouldn't have to tell you how to deorbit. Should be pretty straightforward. But let's get going. Let's thrust a bit, so we don't go full thrust and cause any problems to our space station, because thrusting towards another spacecraft will cause problems. If you have RTS, that's fine. Okay, let's go full thrust. Make sure our orbit line comes down to the landing areas where the high concentration of ore is. and get some shot of curving in the background, high over the man. Because that's going to disappear. If we crash, Munmore will definitely not survive. If he runs out of fuel, we'll have to send a rescue mission. Or if he crashes, he'll never see that sight again. Anyway, let's get down to business. Right, we're coming in hot. Let's reduce our speed and get enhanced vision mode, because that's quite dark. I couldn't work out how to get the slider up for the light visual enhancement mod, so you'll have to do with this post-editing enhanced vision mode. Right, I suggest you get about 10 kilometers, make sure you're under 500 meters per second. But we're coming in quite hot by here, so I'm gonna have to reduce the speed quite a lot. And I'm actually aiming for that crater over there, because I'm thinking, well, if there's going to be any auras, it's going to be in the craters, because that's the craters, any impacts on the surface of the man is going to, or the moon or anywhere, is probably going to expose anything that's under the surface, and hopefully give us the bigger bang for our buck. Okay, by here I'm going to kill the velocity as much as possible to almost a standstill, so we're going to fall straight down. Now, when you're landing, this is handy, especially on low gravity landings, because it means that you're going to use less energy and you don't have to chase that retrograde vector about to make sure that you're going to be landing straight down and you're not going to tip over when you're landing because you're going sideways. Come on, kill that velocity, and coming down, and keep an eye on the altitude on the mod, and we're down. Kill. We have landed on the man successfully. Munmore is elated. Well, he's happy. He can now go outside. This is his lifelong dream. Okay, let's log it. Okay, so we have 2.52% of ore by here. I'm not sure if that's enough. Maybe, maybe not. So I'll do another surveying area. Anyway, let's get our Kerbal out on EVA. We can plant a flag. We can plant a flag in the areas and label how much ore is in that area. And from that data we can decide where to land our rover and do some more searching, refine our area. Okay, surface sample is no use because we're not in science mode. We'll pretend we're taking a surface sample. Right, that's a good thing with flags. You can mark areas and ensure that you know where you're going, where your base is going. You can target those flags as well, so you can easily use them as, well, intercept markers, I suppose you could call it. Anyway, let's get our Kerbal inside. Let's launch him up. And I think it was the left, it was showing more ore, so from our landing site. So that's what we'll do. I think we're heading west, are we? Or I'm not too sure. I think we're right in the right direction. Worth a little check on the map. And say, whoops, wrong direction. Quick, turn around, turn around, turn around. And at this point, I was worrying, will I have enough fuel to get up into orbit again? Redock with the space station? Ugh. Problems I put myself through. Oh, sorry, I have problems I put Munmore through. Shh, sorry, Munmore, you go in the wrong direction. Go this way. Okay, that looks about right. We're landing at higher, where it showed the scan show there's more ore, so let's go to there. Make sure we're pointing in the retrograde. Make sure we have enough electricity as well, because our solar panels aren't generating electricity as we're on the dark side of the moon. Planning Now, I should have done this, should have time accelerated so that Munmore was landing on the moon in the sunlight. That's what NASA have done in real life. In fact, they've planned their moon landings so that the shadow of the spacecraft, you were sort of like landing in dawn or coming to night on the moon, so they can use the shadows at an angle as visual aid for the landings. Anyway, we're coming down, and we're not too far off the dark areas on the Mun over there. Now, that's potentially where most of that ore is. As you can see here, I'm thrusting it up towards that direction so we can land in where there's craters. And you see the crater I'm heading for? And only just with the blockiness of the graphics. Sorry for that. Don't worry, the visual enhancement mod does work in 1.0.4, so future dark images will be enhanced in-game rather than post-editing. Okay, now it's time to kill our velocity. And it's just a matter of feathering that thrust and reduces your acceleration, your speed, in just the right amount before. You can see on the top right-ish on the mod where it says your altitude, terrain, that's the actual distance to the surface of the Mun. And always the best bet as well to kill your velocity almost before landing, so then you can fall down slowly and come down straight. And I'm going sideways here. So let's chase that retrograde marker back to the center. Now advise when you're landing, make sure you're coming down at under about 7 meters per second. I think on low gravity like the Mun you could get with 10. But I found 7 meters per second, at least on Kerbal, is the impact tolerance of most of the parts. The land legs obviously are a bit higher because, well, that's what they're designed for. Right, coming down, come on, slow down. Okay, a bit of a rough landing, but we survived. Even our landing legs have survived. Right, another same thing. Mark it, and well, 5.47%. Now that's a lot higher than the other place, than the last landing spot, so might actually make this our starting base. Because obviously we're going to mine this, we're going to perhaps bring down a single miner, and once we get better at this we can bring down larger miners, make a bigger base, perhaps have multiple miners coming down here. Well, that's my plan anyway. Right, we've planted a flag, let's name this. Make it ore 5.4%. I can't read it because it's at low resolution, because otherwise it get audio glitching. And I don't know if you've noticed in my past videos, I get the odd click here and there. That's because the graphics on the post-editing was quite high, so when I reduced it, the clicking would go away. So it's the processing of the PC is causing some audio glitches. Anyway, this is where our base is going to be. This is where we're going to plant our first base. So Munmore decided to set up a camera. Need the black. Get rid of the UI. Set up a shot. Screenshot. Come on, a bit closer. Some more screenshots. Now one without the black. Okay, that's enough. Come on, Munmore, you've got a station to dock with. Don't think you got enough oxygen for a total stay down here. As if he breathes oxygen. He must do, he's got a spacesuit. Anyway, now we have to go and dock with the space station. So first things first, we're going to have to align, because the orbit of the space station is at an inclination. We're going to have to launch at the right time. Luckily, we went to the east. No, sorry, we went to launch, and we landed on the west. So if you time accelerate, the orbit of the man will line us up with the space station's orbit. No, the landing site of the lander will line up with the space station's orbit. So just a few time accelerations, and we can line up. Okay, I think that is about right. Now all we have to do is go and take off. Right, we've got the space station marker on the nav ball. That'll give us a good indicator on which way to point for that. And that's the actual opposite direction where we're going. So we can use that as a marker anyway to do a rough takeoff. Right, laddering, Munmore, ready, launch. Okay, now we're going up. All we have to do, because the space station is on the opposite of the side of the man, we can use the marker pointing away from there as a rough guide for us to get into orbit, into the same orbit inclination as the space station. Right, now to set up the manoeuvre node. Now for the manoeuvre node, you don't need to go into a high orbit. At the moment, we've got a high altitude of 14 kilometers. As long as you're over 5 kilometers, you're not going to hit anything on the surface of the man. And you're also going to travel faster the lower you are. So the quicker you'll catch up to the space station. Okay, let's reduce our height. That's a bit too high. As I said, I think the stations are about 70 kilometers, so that's one thing to note. Right, if your inclination is not correct, go ahead and correct it now. As long as you launched at the same point as you're on the orbit, then you'll be fine. And now we can go and burn and get up into orbit. Yay, you're about, what is it, 12 by 22. That'll be fine. Okay, set up your intercept and maneuver. Don't forget to use the plus and minus orbits to get as close as you can, as you see here. And try to get closer, add an orbit, add another orbit, and just move the maneuver node about to get the close intercept. Right. This point, this is where we have problems. I haven't got RCS on the lander. And without RCS, that means we've only got one thruster on the lander. And yes, I could use the RCS on the space station to dock with the lander, but I thought, I'm going to make this a challenge. Can I dock with just the thruster? And I tell you, I almost gave up at a couple of points. The trick was to trying to orientate the lander with the docking port. See, trying to make sure that sideways is fine. Get our docking port chosen, because we're heading in that direction. All we have to do now is try and keep that the sideways lined up. And then it'll just be a matter of lining up, going up and down. Okay, so right, another thing, the further away you are, perhaps the easier it was to line up, so let's get going. Now I have to say that this is at higher video acceleration at 2 times speed. Okay, oh no, first attempt didn't work well. In fact, I think, yeah, this was my first attempt at docking. Right, I'm going to try and get a bit further away again. This is hard. This is hard. So a little bit further away. That way we can use the thrust. Now I'm using the nav ball to try and get that prograde vector just over our target. Tiny burst of thrusting. and we're coming in at 1.4 meters per second. And I forgot to turn down my video thing. And we've... Come on. Yes, we've docked. Munmore has docked. That, ladies and gentlemen, was my first docking without RCS. With just the thrust of a rocket. So, achievement achieved. Anyway, I'm sorry there's not so much content on this, but I promise updates. So if you like this video, hit that like button. And also, if you want some more videos like this and you haven't been subscribed, you're not subscribed, then why not think of subscribing? So I'll do some more videos. And, well, if you want a video request, let me know. I may do so. Okay, so in the next episode, I think we're going to concentrate a bit more on the base. Perhaps get a few modules for our space station. Anyway, I'm Orbiter. Trust me, I'm an engineer.